Welcome to the Manic podcast, where we respect fashion's past, analyze fashion's present, and get excited about fashion's future. I'm Liberty Gateman, founder and creative principal of fashion media company Manic. Several times per week, I'll bring you episodes about exciting things happening in fashion, discussion about current issues facing the industry, and the places and people that have made the fashion industry great. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on Instagram at the Manic Podcast and at Manic, both linked in our show notes. Now, let's get into today's episode. Welcome to the Manic Podcast. I'm Liberty, your host. In our third installment of our What Was series, we're going to talk about a place for which fashion lovers worldwide held a special place in their hearts, and were absolutely devastated at its closing. We're going to talk about Colette, the famous Parisian concept store. Colette was founded in March of 1997 in Paris by Colette Rousseau and daughter Sarah Andelman. Their goal was to give Parisians a taste of something that they've never seen before. The space, located at 213 Rue Saint-Honore in Paris's first arrondissement, held 3 floors and 8,000 square feet of space of fashion, art, design, and food under one roof. Among some of the non-fashion items were furniture, magazines, books, and pieces of home decor. There was an exhibition space that would frequently play host to art exhibitions, and a bookstore that held numerous books and magazines that patrons were more than happy to peruse during their shopping trips to the beloved concept store. Colette also held multiple events like book signings, panel discussions, and other gatherings. With regards to collaborations that they brokered with designers and artists, they partnered with numerous big names such as Chanel, Balenciaga, Hermes, and IKEA, among others. The brand did a better job than most anyone at keeping their finger on the pulse of both the fashion industry and culture. They were true tastemakers in every sense. So much so that when it was time for the fashion show merry-go-round every season, buyers and editors would frequent its space, ostensibly to get a glimpse at what trends and designs were coming down the fashion pipeline. The store also had what it called a water bar, where, depending on what source that you're using for reference, served anywhere from 73 to 100 different brands of bottled water from around the world in its basement. In terms of fashion, Colette was one of the first to host the earlier collections from brands like Proenza Schouler, Rodarte, Christopher Kane, Simone Rocha, and Sakai. The store combined both high fashion and streetwear under one roof before it was cool to do so. I want to take a quick moment to tell you about Manic Metallic's recent product. Do you like fashion? Does it matter to you beyond just entertainment value? Well, Manic Metallic is a fashion media company that creates audio, written, and video content that supports our ethos that fashion is an art, discipline, and societal force for change. We recently published a fashion ebook titled Alternative Fashion Capitals, a survey of 20 cities of emerging thought leadership. In it, we detail 20 cities beyond just New York, Milan, London, and Paris that have thriving fashion scenes, and we dive deep into what they have to offer, including shopping districts, specific places to shop, brands, events, fashion organizations, fashion publications, and universities and colleges. These 20 cities have a lot to offer the world with regards to the fashion industry, and Manic Metallic is determined to share their stories. We'd love for you to consider purchasing this fashion ebook and for you to join our growing community via our website, social media, newsletter, and podcast. For more information on the ebook and where it can be purchased, please visit manicmetallic.com/products. We look forward to hearing from you. Now, back to the podcast. Despite being both a popular and profitable company, it was announced in July of 2017 that Colette would be shutting its doors. Colette Rousseau, the mom of the two, decided to retire, and the company decided that Colette would not be the same under outside ownership. The store closed permanently in December of 2017. Sarah Andelman, who'd acted as a creative director and purchasing manager for Colette, went on to launch another venture titled Just an Idea Books in 2021. We've linked to it in the show notes below if you'd like to take a look at it. In 2020, a documentary titled Colette Mon Amour debuted, Directed by Hughes Lawson-Body and co-produced by Highsnobiety, Lepak, and Elion Lawson-Body, it talked to various cultural figures like Sakai founder Chito Sabe, Louis Vuitton men's creative director Virgil Abloh, and rapper Kanye West about their experiences with Colette and the impact that Colette has had on fashion and culture. I'd like to end a podcast with a story that's kind of amusing. Colette had these shirts at one point in stock from an independent brand that trolled Saint Laurent around the time that Eddie Slimane made the decision to drop the Yves from Yves Saint Laurent, which that was 2013. So the parody t-shirts carried the phrase, "Ain't Laurent without Yves," which I think is hilarious. Saint Laurent, the company, freaked out and excommunicated Colette from their circle after a 15-year business relationship. Saint Laurent, under Eddie Slimane's design stewardship, seemed to be problematic in a way that it dealt with the outside world just generally. If you follow fashion, you'll remember the fracas that happened between Kathy Herin and Eddie Slimane in 2012, when Kathy made a critique about Slimane's collection that he didn't like, and he banned her from Saint Laurent shows. So the fact that Colette ended up on the outs with Saint Laurent is 0% surprising. Despite all of this, it was Saint Laurent that ended up leasing out the Colette store space after it closed. I guess grudges don't last forever. That's the end of this episode. Tune in for our next episode where we give our final thoughts on New York Fashion Week. See you later. Thanks for listening. If you got value out of today's episode, it'd mean a lot to me if you'd rate, review, and subscribe to the Manic podcast. Be sure to tell all of your fashion-inclined friends and coworkers about the podcast as well. This would really help us to spread our message about fashion being an art, discipline, and force for societal change. And don't forget to stay in touch with us by subscribing to the Manic newsletter and following us on Instagram. Feel free to reach out to us through either of those means. I'd love to hear from you. I'll link these all in the show notes. You're the best. See you next episode.